welcome Dr. Omotayo Ajirotutu as he takes us on the topic coping abilities as a method of guiding the mind. But I'll read out his profile. Dr. Ajirotutu Omotayo is a consultant clinical psychologist who is passionate about self-development, training, and individual wellness. He works with the psychology department of the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, Lagos, and he is also the current head of department. He has a BSc, MSc, MPhil, and a doctoral degree in clinical psychology. His work experience spans over 20 years in clinical practice, which includes psychological intervention for people going through various forms of psychological distress. He's a consultant to different psychological rehabilitation centers and agencies. He also served and still serves in-house consultant for different organizations. He has so many publications in different national journals. Dr. Ajirotutu is a fellow of the Nigerian Association of Clinical Psychologists, a member of Nigerian Psychological Association, American Psychological Association, and also a member of the Employee Assisted Professional Association Nigerian chapter. He is married and blessed with children. Please, let's put our hands together for Dr. Omotayo Ajirotutu.
It's afternoon already. Thank you. It's afternoon already. I want to still go back to recognize my boss, Dr. Adebayo. We've been together for close to 25 years. I worked with him at different capacity as my head of clinical services, as my acting medical director, and also my head of research and training. Thank you very much, sir. My Reverend Father, Dr. Adigbite, who is a sister from a sister hospital, Luth. I also want to recognize all other people present on the high table. And I have some of my aunties here. My mother's sisters are here, Mrs. Ogumbi and Auntie Emisi. Thank you very much. And I also want to thank the organizers for giving me the knowledge and opportunity to share my little experience with you here. Well, you could see what I am going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about coping abilities as a method of safeguarding the mind. Truth be told, our minds have been abused seriously. When I say all of us, including myself, even with the professionals, because we are humans. And in the last 3-4 years, it's been so terrible in terms of the insecurity, the kidnapping, the COVID-19 experience, which took a lot from us, starting from the shutdown to the lockdown to the restriction of our lifestyles, which has also been a coping method for so many people. Those 3, 4, 5 months, which snowballed to a year, was so terrible. People could not socialize with their family members. They couldn't attend parties. And those are the areas where people were catching their fun. People who might not have families, people who did not have so much opportunities. Those are areas where they were able to interact. But all of a sudden, it went shut down. We went through that phase, and it took us to the era of people losing their jobs, post-COVID, and even within COVID. A lot of organizations folded up. Organizations right-sized people. People were sacked. It affected people emotionally. And there's something we say, what you don't have control over, there's nothing you can do about it. You have to learn how to work around it. And that is what we are going to be doing now. Those are the themes I'm going to talk much about. How we are going to be able to work around the situation we've found ourselves. Because truth be told, it's not going away. It's not going away for a very long time. We cannot easily drive to Ibadan. We cannot easily walk freely in Lagos now. It's as bad as that. Which takes you to the issue, most of the things Dr. Adegbite talked about, the issue of anxiety. You cannot send a child outside. You start watching, looking at the time, it spends 10, 15 minutes, you're already there where you send the child, which was quite different from how we grew up in Nigeria. So we have to safeguard our mind. And how do we do that? We look at so many things. which will help us to walk through this phase. Dr. Adebayo talked about mental health, good mental health, and also talked about mental illness. And the purpose of good mental health is very, very germane. It's just how you're able to perceive yourself and work within your environment. Talks about your full potential, ability to cope with stressors of life, because we cannot take that away. It will always be there. We have to go to work, we have to take care of the family, we have to attend to so many things in the face of this stress. And how productive and fruitful you are in school, for students, at our place of work, and even in our community, because this is the church, it's a body. The community, it's in the society. How are we able to function within these areas where we find ourselves? And we cannot do without things while looking at what well-being is. Well-being is what everybody craves for and we desire for. We all want to be happy. We want good health. We want social connection. We want to interact with people. And this well-being falls into so many domains. We have the physical well-being, we have the spiritual well-being, you have the emotional well-being, you have the environmental well-being, social and also financial well-being. And you cannot, when you look at this well-being, you link it to mental well-being. And there are salient points. It talks about autonomy, freedom to make your own decision, freedom to express yourself, self-acceptance. How do you view yourself? How do you see yourself? What is your own perception about yourself? I'm not talking about how people see you. How do you see yourself? And also positive relationship, because our life is in a triangular form. We function within three areas: our religious setting, our work life, and our family life. Those are the three areas we interact with people. And those are what well-being entails, how you're able to relate and function within that setup. And you could have when Dr. Adebayo rolled out the issue of mental illness. We've talked about health, we've talked about mental health, and also mental illness, which includes a range of conditions, which there are standard criteria which we use in making diagnosis. And she actually talked about two out of the psychopathologies, which emphasize on depression and anxiety. We have so many others. And the one that I was sharing with the Reverend Father was about substance abuse, the use of drugs, which have done so much damage to our youth and even the adults as well. So you cannot rule that out. But we look at some of the common triggers that lead to this mental and emotional breakdown. It's so much. And there are some things that we don't have control over. Well, bereavement, for example, serious illness for a family member or even yourself or that particular individual. Issue of unemployment, caring for a sick member of the family, challenges at work, noisy neighborhood. Dr. Adebayo raised the issue of noise being a causal factor, and the moderator talked about, you go to a party, probably there's so much. It goes beyond that. You might be living in a neighborhood whereby there is a bar or a club next to you, or a church or a mosque, next to you, and the service is done in your room. Because as you start the services, and there's a night vigil from 12 to 6 a.m. and you are on your bed, but you are in that church, you are in the service, and it deprives you of your sleep. And this goes on. You are not a member of that church, and it goes on regularly. You are not sleeping, and the after effects could lead to a mental breakdown, because sleep is a very key one. So we also look about having heavy duty, and we look at workplace as well, because we function in three areas. Like I said, our workplace, and that is the only one we don't have control over. You have control over your relationships, you have control over your family relationships, you have control over religion. You can decide to move from here to become a Muslim, it's your choice. But work, there are rules and regulations. And even if you have your business, it's different. But when you are employed, there are rules and regulations that guide what you do. So in our workplace, so many people, some things that have led to mental breakdown surrounds workload, pressure to work at optimal level, that is, you have deadlines to meet, long working hours, unclear the expected goals. There are some people, they find themselves in an organization where they will do everything. No specific goal, but you just have to earn the money. Pressure from performance, and so many other things which are bound. Then there are some other cause of life stressors that may affect productivity. Well, a major one, which we don't always share about, and we found over time in our practice, is marital issues, divorce, which have contributed to a lot of breakdowns. And it's not only for only the female gender, even the male gender. We are seeing it happening now. They're walking in, and we're interacting with them based on their experiences for marital issues. Then also chronic illnesses or injuries, which could be another factor which will affect an individual from functioning. Then also, as I said, taking care of an elderly or sick family member is a big role. If some of us have experienced it before, it's a big role because you are caring for that person, and you are also under a lot of pressure, and you are also human. So it has its own negative toll. Well, doctor has looked at the signs and symptoms of depression and also linked it to anxiety. But for generally, there are some things you see. We'll look at 4 main domains. The cognitive symptoms, which people on the go experience. They have seen issues from negative aspects when they engage people, inability to concentrate. And like I say, for students, there are some things you need to learn. Attention and what? And concentration. Without attention and concentration, learning cannot take place. And for the adults, those are the 2 things you also need to be able to function at a place of work. Without attention and concentration, what is your production level, your productivity level at work? It will go down. So those are the key things, and it falls under the cognitive symptoms. The emotional symptoms are bound. The fluctuation in mood, irritability. That is why you wonder why some people get angry over nothing. At the slightest provocation, they become irritable. They start feeling angry, express themselves negatively and all that. So those are key issues under emotional issues. Then sense of loneliness and isolation as well. You see somebody who is very, very outgoing, very, very interactive with people. Suddenly, there's a withdrawal from people, lost interest in activities and issues which he or she enjoys. For an individual, you watch spending 6 or 7 hours watching Z World. Suddenly, she's not even putting on the TV. Or a man that knows all the teams in the Premiership League is not even sitting down to watch a match. He tells you and gives you a message. Or a very fashion-conscious individual who is top-notch suddenly starts appearing shabbily. It sends a message. These are issues that we just need to even look out for people around us. And at times, it's not even you direct, but other people around you. Doctor rolled out the physical symptoms, but one area which is very, very key is some of the sexual drive. When this sets in, that such person loses interest in sexual intimacy with their spouse or in their relationship. And at times, they manifest so many other physical conditions which affected them. And for behavioral symptoms, we've talked about poor sleep, and at times it could be oversleeping. It could be poor appetite. At times it could be overeating as well. It depends on how it's applicable to that individual. So we'll quickly look at some major issues which I want you to take with. Like I said, there are some things we cannot control, but we have to safeguard our mind and work around them. I'll quickly take you through the A to Z method of coping and how we'll be able to function adequately. We start with the A to Z. I'm sure maybe it can be projected there. This is the A to Z strategies of preventing mental health issues. Very, very simple. We're not talking about medications now because it gets to a level which doctor read out to you. When there's a total breakdown, that is when the issue of medications and psychotherapy comes into play. But there are daily challenges we face, and in that phase, we should be able to walk around with all these issues which I want us to go through. It tells you at least you should be able to spend alone 30 minutes with yourself. It could be at your seat in the office, just introspect. Spend as mediating. Go look inwardly. Just spend 30 minutes in your cool own state. It could be at home, it could be a place of work. B says, be aware of your emotional strength. You should be aware of your own emotional strength. What are your strengths? And also take into consideration your weaknesses. We all know our weaknesses, and we all know our strengths. And some of those weaknesses, we might not be able to overcome them, but we should much more based on our strength. Then know when to step back and take things calm. This talks about change is constant in life. I'm sure you agree with me. It's constant. Daily exercise is recommended. You might not even need to go to the gym. There are small exercises you can do within your house, within your home, even at the place of work, which you need to take into consideration. Then E talks about the eating habits. Eat like a king in the morning, like a prince at noon, like a pauper at night. Not when you bring 4 wraps of fufu around 10 a.m. and you eat it with obefo, then you start rolling on the bed and you say, I can't sleep. You know the reason why you cannot sleep? Because it won't even digest. It won't even digest before you go to bed. So the eating pattern and method is very, very key. Then also, Jude talks about goals are set. You have to set your goals to be able to achieve most of the things you want. My laptop is off. Let me project from there. Yes, he says, Jesus, goals are set. F talks about forgiveness. We are in the church. Forgiveness and forgetting past painful experiences. Also, many people have hurt us in the past. And we come to church, we still bear all those grudges. And it's painful. It affects you mentally. Because once you see that person, psychologically, something comes up. If you're not in good terms with someone, something comes up. And you start exhibiting a particular behavior. So learn to forgive and forget. Hug your spouse in the morning. Just say, hey, hug. Hug your spouse, your siblings, your kids. Daddy, how are you, mommy? It sends a lot of messages to people. Hey, how are you? And you're off. Children, the children, the mind of a child is like a slate. We call it tabula rasa. It is what you write there that the children learn. And that is what they imbibe. So once you start teaching children or exposing them to love, that is what they will imbibe. And if a child learns from a very toxic environment, there's always constant fight at home, that is what the child will learn. Please, can you see roll it back? That is what the child will learn. So I talked about independency, which could also be financial independence, and aside financial independence, natural independency. What's your name, sir? I don't need to see color day now before I take decisions about my life. There are some people like that. Before they do anything, they must go and consult someone. What do you feel about this? I want to do this program. Are you going to do it? In the same office, are you going to do it? No, I'm not doing it. I won't do it. Both in marital life and even so many other areas which they find themselves. So that is very, very key. Then also, keep a positive attitude always towards people around you. Keep a positive attitude all the time. Because attitude tells a lot about people. And once people are able to identify you with your affect is a short-lived emotion which we express on our face regularly. So once they know that your eye is always strong, that is how they term you. Next slide, please. Next slide. So I talked about mediating as well. Very, very significant. Then also learn how to say no to extra work demands. And this has to do with your own personality. Because once people are able to identify you as a weak person, they push them to you, even within the house and even at place of work. So they pass all their responsibilities to you to attend to. And you should be able to say no at any point in time. Please maintain the slide. Then outdoor activities with family members can be a very great way to relax. I don't know how much time people spend with families now. It is very, very key. Spending time with family is very, very key. I do that a lot. Yesterday, I still took my third girl out. Two of us alone. I have 5 of them. She's number 3. I left work very early. I took her. We went to watch a cinema. There's this new film, The Woman King. We saw it together yesterday, just 2 of us. And those are the things that they hold on to. And you create time for them. Your spouse, it doesn't have to be UK. It doesn't have to be US. There are a lot of results here, in Lekki here, which we can spend time with our family and our children. Very key. Then Q said, quit smoking and alcohol. Dr. Adebite talked about that. That is where people run to as an hiding place. When they are faced with problems, they run to the use of psychoactive substances. And it has no value. You look at the advantages. What are the advantages compared to the disadvantages? Then how it talks about relationships. So many people are entangled in a lot of toxic relationships. And they find a way out. Rather than move away from them, just to maintain that relationship. Because of who they are, their personality types. So once a relationship becomes toxic, you move away. Yes, I don't know, the take for we professionals now. We've seen so many. I could run a case, a patient we managed who has been married for years, and that marriage has been so toxic. And after each time she has a breakdown, they bring the patient to the hospital. She will spend 3 or 4 months. She goes back to her spouse. She'll be there for 3 months, they bring her back. And it was like that until it was running like 4 years. Why, after this start, let us see if she goes to her family house. And when she got back to her family house, she was there 6 months. No breakdown, 7 months. She went back to that marriage, and on that 3 months, she was back in the hospital. So that gives us a confirmation that relationship is toxic. Well, where do we stand? Are we going to say she should leave our marriage? It's left. We would advise them leave the family members to take decision. The slide, please. Then also, we talk about sleep. It's a very, very key thing. Treat yourself once in a month with a dinner out. Like I said, the children will grow. I tell people, how much do we give ourselves? How much do we give ourselves? I see people who would go to the eatery, they buy things for the children and won't buy for themselves. We give them the best. How much do we give ourselves? So we should be able to give ourselves the best as well. You pamper yourself. You work for the money. You deserve the best too. You need to understand things from other people's point of view. Everything is not just about you alone, not from your own view alone. You need to take other people's views into context as well. Then we talk about vacation. I talked about that. You worry less. What you cannot control, it makes no point worrying about it. So you can just walk around issues around that. Then express yourself to the fullest. Know what you want specifically and go for it. I do that. Nobody can cage you. Express yourself in an appropriate way. Make people to see things from the right perspective, not in a very, very irrational method. Then Z talks about zest for life. Live your life to the fullest every day because you don't know what will happen tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Let's keep clapping. Dr. Ajirotutu has been very practical. He's given us practical steps into ensuring strategies for preventing mental health. You know, he made a point about hugging your spouse. I don't have a spouse yet, but at least I have 2 Teletubbies in my life, my sister and my best friend. And hugging is actually very important because they can hug you and take your worries away. So please, let's ensure that we hug, you know. And if you don't have a Teletubby like me, you can get a teddy bear. If you don't have a teddy bear, you can use your pillow. But just make sure you hug and then, you know, try to get your worries away. So please let's put our hands together again for him because he has really given us practical steps in ensuring that we sustain and maintain our mental health. So at this point, I'd just like us to stand because we've been sitting for a very long time. We're going to take a break. But before we go on the break, I want us to please stand and we're just going to do a bit of exercise because Dr. Ajirotutu encouraged us to exercise. So please, let's stand. So what we're going to do is, I'm alive, I'm awake, I'm alert, I'm enthusiastic, you buga, right? I'm alive, I'm awake, alert, enthusiastic. So we go, I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. I'm alive, awake, alert. I'm alert, awake, alive. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. One more time. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. I'm alive, awake, alert. I'm alert, awake, alive. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. Let's put our hands together for ourselves. Okay, so if you want to use the bathroom, just move around just for 5 minutes. We're going to take a leg stretch, and then we come back and listen to our other speakers. Please, let's move around. We've been sitting for so long. Let's say hello. We can step out, go to the bathroom, get to meet other people around, and then we get back here in 5 minutes. Thank you, everyone.